Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jet Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is your boy Davis over at the Con Freaks and Geeks, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Pop Culture Gems. This is a series where we talk to amazing creators, artists, cosplayers, voice actors, and more. If you want to check out more of the series, give us a thumbs up and or subscribe to our YouTube channel, the CFG channel, or you can listen to it on any podcast services like Apple, Google Podcast, what have you. If you do, definitely leave a thumbs up or a check mark. It goes a long way for us. And if you want to check out the fantastic geeky content in one area, just go to our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com, for the whole package. Our guest in this episode is a super geek. if I had ever met one, yes, she is known.
I'm geeky too.
Yes, well, I'm telling you, are the geek. That's the person I'm describing right now is you. Yeah, you are super geeky. And then she's known for the most amazing cosplays of beloved characters like Storm, Wasp, Gamora, Jace, and a whole lot more. She's a super comic book nerd and is like a well of encyclopedia knowledge of it. She is a cosplayer, model, gamer, and more. I would like to welcome Sara Moni Cosplay. How are you doing?
Woo, hey, doing good. I mean, we're all surviving.
I know.
Surviving and vibing.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like an understatement. You know, it's kind of sucks because you know how you have to say like with pleasantries, it's like, hey, how are you doing today? And it's like, when you really think about it, it's like, well, it could be a little bit better, but no.
Yeah, I kind of have that. It's realistic optimism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh yeah, just fine, day by day. So it's not bad, not good. I'm that like chaotic neutral. That's where I'm at.
That's basically the best way to say chaotic neutral. It is what it is. Exactly. Well, anyways, let's get down to it. Who is Sara Moni Cosplay?
I am a Phoenician, born and raised, costuming since 2010. In 2012, I started doing charity cosplay with the Arizona Avengers, who are a local 503c nonprofit. We do lots of hospital visits, events for the community that benefit children, promoting literacy, work with Kids Need to Read, Make-A-Wish Foundation. And it's a lot of fun to be able to do something that I enjoy from a community level with the costuming and con community, and just from a personal skill level with each costume that I build. You get to enjoy it on a little bit deeper level, and you get a different type of resonance when you see kids that light up seeing a group of characters that maybe they wouldn't be able to experience because they're not able to go to Comic-Con, much less, the bigger events that, we kind of take for granted within the community. So it blows them away every time. And that is something that I'll never get tired of.
That's cool. Are you still part of the AZ Avengers? It's been a while for me. Oh yeah, man, I can't believe it's been 8 years, or no, 10 years. 10 years, right? Yeah.
Well, it was 2012. It was like fall of 2012 when I joined. So yeah, it'll be coming up 8 years.
Yeah. Well, 8 years with them, but 10 years of just cosplaying and everything, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Golly, that's like time is flying. I think I met you. Was it Amazing Arizona? I think it was Amazing Arizona Comic-Con when it was at the Phoenix Convention Center like a long time ago, like in the early 2000s and stuff. And I was like, oh, who's that? I think it was Storm. No, it was Wasp. I think it was your Wasp cosplay. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then just now, just to see how it is now, like skip to now, it's like you've done so much and you're doing so many things, so many cool things and side projects. It's really very admirable, I will say.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's fun and I'm enjoying my community and building that skill set, that's what it is. It's that trifecta, because there's a lot of people, especially right now, just to bring back the "how are you" in a world of pure chaos. It's like, okay,
Right.
as expected, but our little life preservers are the things that keep us moving forward. And a lot of people can get burnt out with cosplay, and rightfully so. I 100% understand. So for me, what keeps me as excited and as motivated is I'm still not where I want to be skill wise. I never want to be there, because then that means, once you top out, you 100% a level,
Mhm.
then what?
Right.
I always want to push the envelope and keep growing, different skill sets. It's like, okay, with that first costume, you start out baby steps and you do a little bit more. And my criteria now for picking costumes is tackling some facet that I haven't done before.
Mm.
So it's moving from bodysuits to capes to wings to tails to tentacles to body paint to other prosthetics to where I'm at now, where it's just like a culmination of all of those things.
Right.
So my current goal is just to work on armor some more, because I've only done very minimal armor work. But not too many of the characters that I like and that I feel passionate about are armor wearers. So it would be more of a design motivation.
More like a kind of like an original kind of themed, or a ceremony kind of touch for the character itself.
Yeah, original characters are always fun. They have that. I mean, that's the open door. It's weird because like I'll vacillate between like, oh, it's too much canon material to make it exact, and it's like, oh, if you post it and you don't have this little thing that's pink but it's more coral, people are going to ream you over it. But if you do something that is original, it's like, okay, well, now I have so much control, I don't know what to do, someone tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that middle ground for things, I think that's why people respond so well to like fan art and mashups, because you have some source material that you can stay true to help guide you in your design process, but then you can take some liberties and have a little bit of free reign over other elements of the costume.
That's fair enough. That's pretty good. That's true. And what initially got you into cosplaying in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. The tried and true answer is I like costumes. I like comic books. So it's a very baseline. I think people that aren't really into that type of fantasy, that type of expression, people that aren't really into fashion or makeup, it's a little bit harder for them to get into. But it's like, if you're already in that type of creative field, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to costuming. And then when you get further into the community, it definitely keeps you there, because then you're surrounded by other people that are like, oh, I really like this thing, I'd like to make this thing. I'm like, I'd like to see you make that thing. Maybe I can wear this that goes with it. And you've built up something that is way beyond just a costume party at that point.
Right.
You're able to discuss, why did you pick that costume? What does that mean to you? And that's when you get into like that real connection that's a part of the costume. I explained to a friend of mine who does, she does a couple different types of art. She writes and paints. And it's like, okay, well, when I'm creating something, as she's telling me, I'm putting it on a canvas. I'm putting it on a shelf for people to come and look. You are putting it on your person. You are wearing it live. So you're your own walking gallery at that point. And it didn't really like connect with me, but it's like, yeah, it takes guts to do what cosplayers do. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for that. So tangent, I'm just going to clap one out for everybody that has the guts to get out there and be passionate about something and put on a costume and rock it, because there are other art forms that give us a little bit of distance from that. There are lots of other art forms that when they receive criticism, it's never personal. And with costuming, oftentimes it is. Even though they're strangers online, it's still that chips away at you, inside a little bit.
Right.
So
well, but then again, though, too.
Positive.
Oh yeah. But then again, though, too, it's just like, I mean, I definitely understand. Like, I mean, when you get the drive to, because you like comics, you like the layout is definitely there. I mean, you're definitely into that kind of stuff, as it is, which makes it easier or more like, subjectable for you to wanting to get into it more. But I mean, there was nothing that kind of just drove you in to just say, oh wow, okay, WonderCon 2010 is out, is here. It's like, I want to go and attend it. But then it's like, there was nothing that said, you know what, I want to dress up for that event specifically itself. Or there was it just kind of just like, it just dawned on you that you were wanting to get into it. There was no like drive into it. You just hopped into it like fresh into it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, feet first. I think I had gone to Phoenix Comic-Con before dressing up. So it's like, you're aware of people in costume. It's so hard for you not to be. So it was just kind of like an organic thing of like, oh, these people are doing this. That's cool. Like, I know it happens. Go the next year, maybe I will too. Like, it's a basic drive. It was for me, just to, they can't, so why, or they do, so why can't I? So
no, fair enough.
I jumped in, I taught myself how to sew, and the rest is history.
So you didn't know how to sew even before all of that? You just like, wow, that's a pretty incredible drive. I will say that's really cool. So what was the first cosplay that you made on your own?
I'd say, like, without modifications, everything from scratch.
Well, let's not go that crazy. Like, let's say your first cosplay itself, like the one that you said, okay, like you said, when you went to PCC last year regularly, the next year you went to it again, but then you dressed up, you made a homebody like cosplay. Like, what was that? What was the first one of that?
I think it was my 90s Jim Lee Storm would be the first one that I took a needle to. Oh wow. So I just had the base suit, and then I put all the straps on it, made the cape, made the puffy, made the man. I added the 90s to it. Oh man, that's like what's it called? Well, you are definitely going big when it came with Jim Lee's Storm with the hair and all that stuff. Oh my god. Yeah, well, the wig was rough. My very first version of Storm was thrown together. It was a closet cosplay that I just did for a fun event, and I was like, I'll just do the movie one, because it's like, what is it? Black leather. I have tons of black leather. Done. Throw on a wig, and then me being an infant, and like, what? How do I get a white wig? I can't find. What is this Party City Lady Gaga Platinum Blonde? Good enough. Done. It's like, done. Let's go with that. Then you're dressing up like a deflated version of Missy Elliott's silver, the silver thing with the cape and all that. That's cool. I was not super fly. I mean, no, it was fun. It was just like the wig. Like, people were like, oh, like, are you Lady Gaga? No. Some people said Storm, and some people were just like, oh, this is just a costume spy femme fatale type of thing. So, oh man, I just get. Well, you definitely came a gigantic long way from where you initially started. So that's really cool. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. And what is the hardest thing for you when it comes to cosplay? Like, what is the hardest thing you come across when you are making your cosplays, or just the cosplay scene in general? Oh, that's a hefty one. So I'll tackle the costumes first, and that's a 2-pronged one. So the two hardest things are either the materials that you need that don't exist. Oh, good. Or references that don't exist. With comics specifically, it's tricky, especially when you're dealing with older comics or comics that aren't top tier, aka obscure X-Men, which I like to do. And from issue to issue, different illustrators will put different variations. It's like, can we get on the same page? Can we literally get on the same page with the design? So it's like filtering through, finding the most accurate. If that's my goal for the costume, is to go for canon and for accuracy, it's finding those references so that I can make it how I want. And then materials, it can be a search that goes on. Some things can't really be made, especially when it comes to like textiles and fabrics. You can usually make most weapons and builds and things like that, but when it just comes down to like a material, like that isn't something that we can readily make. Like I don't have a loom that I'm making my 4-way stretch on to get that exact shade of green for Megan or whatever the case might be. So sometimes when I'm fabric shopping, I'll buy stuff. I'll be like, this will come in handy for something. Because I guarantee you when I need it, I won't be able to find it. So like seasonal window shopping, just to have what's in here is all fabric, these cubes. So, and it's all categorized by color.
Wow.
So like, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But having that battery of materials on hand definitely helps. And it's also kind of worked in the reverse where I see, wow, I've got a lot of purple vinyl for whatever reason. I wonder what this could be used for. Oh, you know who has this type of costume? Well, let me look into that. And then it's just a tangent research and getting into characters or series just from trying to jog my memory from fabric. And then the second part of your question was just the hardest part of the community or the most difficult part of the community.
Well, let's say the hardest, like the most challenging. Let's say that. I wouldn't want to say the hardest part, but like the challenging parts of the cosplay community itself in general.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, right now it's non-existent.
Well, yeah.
And just generally speaking, I know no one planned for this or thought this would happen, but it's hard when you're into a club, a gathering, community, whatever you want to call it, if it's almost completely debilitated from the lack of meeting together. We're one of the few hobbyists, creatives that, our system kind of breaks down because we thrive so much on meeting each other and having these events in person. Like, yeah, there's social media and the community is still thriving there. So I'm not, going to underestimate the connectivity of that. But it's a bummer when it's like people are making plans to travel, lodge, see friends that live out of state. And there really aren't other communities that are like that do what we do and have what we have, especially on such a global scale. And aside from that, I would say the most difficult part would be just trying to keep those connections. There's a lot of cool creatives out there that are doing things that are different and interesting, that are making all sorts of content, either just for enjoyment or educational, people that do tutorials. And they're almost like they're a whole different beast that thrives on like the education of growing a different skill set. And so without that motivation for people to like make things, photographers are suffering, makeup artists are suffering, wig stylists are suffering. And it's like, okay, everyone's shooting, either self-shooting, which I think is a cool skill set to build as a content creator, whatever the case may be. But to like cut off that option that you had is kind of a drag.
Pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty strong cut.
It's tough. I'm trying to think outside of, let's say everything was the status quo and we're living in early February 2020.
Right.
Back in time. Yeah, I would still say like connectivity with friends that aren't in your local circle. It is easy to get discouraged because you see, oh wow, so-and-so churned out X many costumes this month. I haven't done any. So it can either motivate you or it can weigh you down, depending on your disposition, where you are. Everyone's mental health is different, and the lens of social media is a blessing and a curse, and we have to know when to pull back on some things and when it can be used as a positive tool.
Right.
So navigating that, especially now, since we are all basically virtual, we need to just be aware of where we are, what we can do, what's plausible, and just navigate that in a healthy way.
Mm. That's a good way. That's a good way of putting it. I definitely like that. And is there anything that's specifically that you were wanting to cosplay that's like on your wish list to do, but it's either on hold for obvious reasons or just financial or anything, like, is there anything out there that you're wanting to do, like, to make?
I have a list of costumes that are going to get remade. And I have a few costumes that are on my to-do list. It's nothing that's really daunting skill wise. It's just a matter of motivation, like pushing myself to do it. There aren't too many things that I have that are really like a financial. I'm a very thrifty costumer.
Well, that's perfect.
I will say that.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I try to keep the costs low, because like, even if you keep everything, like, let's just use our baseline of $20 for a just standard superhero costume.
Mm-hmm.
Your wig, decent, is going to be about $20. Your lenses, decent. For me, prescription, $20 to $40. Your base fabric, if you get it wholesale, maybe $10 to $15. That's going on the low end. And then your other things like thread, zippers, fascinators, and then your shoes and or boot covers. If we're all 20, it's like that's $100 just for like a base, very base suit. Not even counting if you want to calculate your own time into the project. Much less like a commission or something like that. So the value and cost of a costume is definitely weighed in terms of what takes priority. So if I can do some like intermediate, I'd say maybe 10 hours worth of work would be like an intermediate costume, versus like, oh God, there's this thing that I want to tackle. This is one of those skill building costumes. I want to take my time with it.
Okay.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Whole different. I can even imagine. Jeez. Well, it's funny. It's funny. Like, I mean, I've been doing conventions forever, and like maybe twice I have ever cosplayed, like ever, like into it. So like, and it's just like I've always found it very like admirable for people who who dress up, and not. I mean, it's not even dress up for like one. Sometimes people bring like 4-5 different outfits in one weekend, and I'm like, man, so like you have it scheduled between these hours, then you decide to go back to the hotel room, redress it all up again, and then to be someone completely different in the second half of the event. It's like, that is just dedication. So no, I definitely well, I may not be able to relate since I never did it myself, but I will say that it's like, it's work. It's definitely some crazy work.
It is work. Yeah, it's a labor of love, and that's how I describe it often.
Mm-hmm. So
people are like, you're gonna spend all this time, this money to make this thing, to be in it for a couple hours and get pictures of it, and then you're not gonna wear it until the next thing. I'm like, yeah. All right, whatever floats your boat. I'm like, okay.
That's the business, That's how, exactly. And and I also know, like, I know, kind of veering away from cosplay itself, I know you're also a very big comic book nerd, because I remember a long time ago we did a podcast, a weekly podcast of comic books and stuff. But like, I'm wondering, like, what have you been reading recently?
It's been catching up on a lot of short runs that I've missed. I think the most recent series / arc, I don't know, it was just a 5-issue run. It was a Nightcrawler one.
Mm-hmm.
So already I'm like, oh, I love it. And it was Nightcrawler and Megan, and I'm like, oh,
Megan,
wonderful.
What?
Yeah.
There's a book of Nightcrawler and Megan.
Yeah, there was just a couple months ago. I wish I had my phone. I think it's the Amazing Nightcrawler. Yeah, it's only 5 issues.
Wow, I didn't, man. Like, I totally like 86 Marvel because I was actually getting annoyed for because I'm a big X-Men fan. I mean, and I know you are a big X-Men fan and stuff, but the direction that Marvel was taking, I think when they had the announcements back in March, I believe, when they were adding these new characters, just didn't feel like they were genuine. Like, I don't know if you know about this or if you're aware of it, but like they added new characters, and the characters that they added didn't seem like they were. They basically just felt like they were half-assing it. They didn't even really kind of, gave it any kind of emphasis. So I was like, you know what? I can't back y'all. I can't. I like in good conscience, I cannot deal with this. You bring back Logan. You don't want to separate Laura Kinney. You still want to call her all new Wolverine. You have old man Logan on top of that with the regular Logan. And like where are y'all going on direction? And don't even get me started with X-Men. X-Men is just totally a garbage fire now comparatively, So I mean, yeah. So I'm sorry, my rant's over. My rant's over.
Oh no, we can listen. We can talk about that all day long.
Let's talk about that, because like that really, I mean, that is like a dagger, like out of the history of X-Men. And it's funny because I've always felt that they treated X-Men as like the redheaded stepchild of like,
right, which is the whole theme of the comic, and it's like you're making the problem.
Exactly. It's so weird to me that you do this, and then you also have like a group of people like when they introduced the Inhumans felt like it was treated better than the X-Men were, and I was just like, y'all are virtually the same kind of people, just called something completely different, and yet there's still no love for them. So I don't know. I am legitimately upset about the X-Men, about how X-Men comics work. I mean, what do you think?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I'm going to piggyback on the Inhumans. I think there are other forces at play with mouse ears pulling the strings.
You think so? Man, I think okay, I know the pettiness that happened when they didn't own the rights. I understand that. I really do understand that. Now you own the rights, and then you just refuse to just make a stupid like a creative story, and like, let's say, and this is not even including the fact that you want to introduce. I mean, this is like new generation of people. So, but like there is all this. The X-Men is in due time for new cast members, and yet you don't want to do that. Like, I don't understand like how y'all can just keep the same people in line from the past 50 years, the whole BS of Cyclops and Jean Grey, and then to just make a secondary Jean Grey with Marvel Girl and have her own stupid standalone. Yeah, Madeline Pryor, all this nonsense. It's like, you just don't like. Are y'all just afraid of? What are y'all afraid of? I don't understand it at all. Like, what are y'all afraid of? Just of trying new things. I mean, my God, it's like, I just want to shake the hell out of you.
I think, and I'm going to get not really dark, but we're going to take it to a dark place.
Okay.
I think it's death. Anytime you deal with a character, and those three, Jean, expert at dying, Logan, expert at dying, Nightcrawlers died twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how many of the Avengers have gone through that?
Let's see.
Right.
I can't even think of it. Because usually the deaths are like weird side stories and stuff, or they didn't really happen, or
so
whatever.
What if, or some one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, these are all key players for this team, and a plot point isn't to kill off just to bring back, and that's what I think is dirty. And I think that going back to what you said about the pettiness and the corporate rat coming in, they tried so long to devalue the X-Men when they didn't have it, and so now they're at this place where they do. But now they've got all these other properties mixed in, Inhumans being one, because they had a show at the time when it was, I think Inhumans was running at the same time that The Gifted was running. Gifted, terrible. I couldn't get through a part of one episode.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. yeah, no,
No, you're totally right.
not for me. So you have, and then of course they're going to attribute, oh, well, people just don't like X-Men. It's like, well, did you guys watch Legion?
Oh God, Legion was amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, how about you just get people that are just as committed as Russo brothers and everybody else that can carry Guardians from a, at best, C-list comic line.
You're being too nice. Group. It is not a C. It is definitely not a C. Because like because remember like the times like with C characters like if they were a strong cast, they wouldn't have to have a special character every freaking time. Like it's never, why do they always have like Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxies or Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxies? These people change, they rotate constantly because they don't have the strength. Kind of like how Iron Man for the longest of time was not a good comic book. It's still in my opinion, it still technically isn't. But like because of the success of the movies, it kind of did they vamped it up. But like overall, that book is a C, you know, at best. But no, but like I have the link here. I was taking a look, like, okay, like the New Warriors. So they when they added the New Warriors earlier this year, they had character called Snowflake and Safe Space. And I'm going like, have you heard of these? Have you seen this before? This is funny. No. Okay, so like they were wanting to make to bring back the New Warriors, the group, the New Warriors. So instead of they created their own characters without any kind of level of context of where these characters are coming from. So they just decided to make a brand new, like the New Warriors is a brand new team, but then they're going to bring brand new people without explaining it to anybody what this thing works. So it's basically the recipe of failure of what's going to happen. So they had a character called Screen Time, but the big one was these two, Snowflake and Safe Space, because Snowflake. Okay, let me see what the description says. Okay, here we go. It says Snowflake and Safe Space are the twins, and their names are very similar to the Screen Times. Let's see. No, here we go. Safe Space is a big, burly, sort of stereotypical jock. He can create force fields, but he can only trigger them when protecting somebody else. Snowflake is non-binary and goes by they/them, and has the power to generate individual crystallized snowflake-shaped shurikens. And then I was like thinking to myself, wow, you decide to make a non-binary character without the input of anybody for non-binary, like, you know, for non-binary people, and you're just gonna just introduce that in there with no context whatsoever, like at all. Like was there any kind of conversation before this is going to be? Because that could essentially be taken the wrong way quite fast, you know. So
I did. I'm like, oh, Snowflake.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to this. I was just like, when I started seeing this, I was like, okay, I just can't. I just stopped. Actually, I think I just stopped reading Marvel. I completely stopped reading Marvel from it because I was just like, they're not wanting to put in the time. They're not wanting to put in the time to create new characters. They're not wanting to explain these weird storylines that you're starting to put in. And then this is just quite evident that they're just wanting to recycle the characters that they currently have, but then not give any kind of meaning towards them. Like somehow Marvel miraculously made it possible for me to hate Captain Marvel. So like I couldn't stand like any of this nonsense that they're doing. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had not heard about that. Yeah, if you're doing a new team of like brand new characters, one, that's a tall order when you already have so many existing characters that people have no idea who they are. Mm. Why don't you develop those first before you try to do this flavor of the week Tumblr appeasal for people that already feel marginalized, and now you're just like, here, but can you take our money? No.
Yeah.
Like, people want representation that's solid. Read early Luke Cage or Power Man.
Oh God, no.
Current, you know?
Yeah.
Like there is a learning curve, and granted there's some decades in that time frame, but we don't have an excuse now.
We really don't. No.
Like we don't, and it's not hard to make something good that showcases a variety of people that are reading the comic and that are within the context of the comic world.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not hard, and I don't know if it's just, and actually this can be applied to just companies in general, being afraid of that creativity because they want to please both sides and they wonder why it fails. They say, oh, diversity doesn't work. And it's like, no, it's just because you're picking the worst parts of these opposing sides to prove your point, so to speak. And you're not really investing in the side that would actually support you and back it. So you're just dipping your toe in. Well, I'll do this. Like we'll call this character they, them, but we'll draw them in this certain way that is very either stereotypical or already is promoting these generalizations that people might have. It's like you're seeing rhetoric on a page versus a new character who also has this backstory, but we'll get there. We will get there. We don't need to rush through this and just say, slap it on BuzzFeed, Marvel's first non-binary, click here, everybody freak out, and it gets shared, and there's people praising it and hating it, and it's like, but did we read it? Did we take the time when we created this to say, let's do something that is thoughtful and works, and that way the people that are open-minded and that are ready for something like that can enjoy it. You know, the naysayers are always going to have that. Don't even cater to that group. Right. And it's the fear of lost dollars at the end of the day. And then the other part is more internal. It's like, well, we don't have anyone that can write this perspective. Well, that sounds like a problem for you. And you should readjust your hiring and your writing and your colorist and your, everyone that's involved in making a character. It's not just one person. Like, this isn't the one man Stan Lee show in 1962.
Very much so. Yeah.
There's a lot more involvement, and that's what makes a good, well-rounded character.
But would you really specifically say, I mean, I guess it's not really necessarily specifically with Marvel, because I kind of feel it's kind of the same way all around, except for indies, not as much, but like, overall, your thought of ethnic and gender representation in comics, you feel like that's what it is? It's just that they just need to show that level of diversity on the back end as well, of like, transgender writers, different ethnicity for like, ethnicities towards in the big two, I guess, mostly because, like I said, indies not as much of a problem comparatively, but sure. That kind of thing that would improve the deal that actually will show that level of storytelling that seems like DC and Marvel is missing, that kind of makes you want to get back into it.
Yeah, to make a well-rounded character that is unfortunately trailblazing, and again, I'm just talking about the big two because that's the visibility. Image is doing stuff, Dark Horse is doing stuff, all these other houses are doing stuff, but it's not the same visibility, and they already are catering to a different type of comic reader. So if we're looking at our big two, that's where we can see a push in the mainstream for, hey, not everybody looks like Steve Rogers. Steve, you're doing great, but let's also have XYZ. And with writers that are tackling something like that, here's the thing, most writers started out as readers. And if you're reading something that's like, this is really cool, I would love to see this type of reaction. Or if this character had this feature. I mean, Miss Marvel was such a success because look at the team behind her.
Oh, yeah. G. Willow Wilson. And, originally. Yeah. Well, I mean, you would think that they would actually want more of that. But you would, when did that happen? Like, was that... I want to say 3-4 years ago. Yeah, right. It's been a long time, and but it doesn't feel like that they kind of learned from that at all. It just seems like they just said, "Oh wow, this was a smashing hit," and they left it at that. It's like that's the one hit wonder that I mean now Kamala Khan is an established character in the Marvel universe, but in just less than 5 years, it's like that shows that it works. that shows that that stuff like that really helps when people have their point of view in the comics to go with this. But it's like, what
they got lazy.
the hell? Yeah, they got incredibly lazy towards this. And I think, like I said, this new Warriors thing is a slap in the face for anybody who saw this. And I'm not going to going to knock anyone that bought the book and likes it, but I just think overall, like the way I look at it is that it could truly be offensive, like what they were trying to do with this kind of thing. So for the like, it seems like an easy cash grab, because like I said, I think it's mostly probably people may not have read the book, but they see the logo, first non-binary character and stuff like that. It's like it's just a clickbaity kind of thing. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And they're not even the first one,
right?
Either, but that's going to be pushed because it's again, it's visibility. With Miss Marvel, it worked. It was a collective team. It was a process.
Mm-hmm.
Also, at the time of her development, this is looking at like 2013.
Mm-hmm.
That was really like peak MCU time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as a complete studio house, Marvel got lazy because they're like, we're going to get our money and we're going to give people what they are seeing on the screens that have previously never read books. And that's not to like detract or take away from any new fans, but when you are just doing the bare minimum for a certain type of readership that you're trying to get, versus just a good story is a good story for people that are just stepping in, or the people that have been reading for decades, or people that maybe stopped and you want to get that readership sparked up again. That's what will take it. Miles Morales, same thing. These are all characters that had their time versus a brand new team with what sounds like a handful of new characters. We have no basis to go on. There's no time to develop all of them. When the X-Men first came out, 5.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's not until, almost 15 years later, we get Giant Size, and it's like, okay. And then it was just Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
3 at a time. It's a slow integration, especially with all of these teams that have more to them beyond I am the hero, and that is that.
Well, I mean, like, X-Men kind of they really don't have any kind of excuse on why it's so bad. Like right now, I haven't. Have you read a recent X-Men? I don't even know. Like
House of X, Powers of X.
Okay, how old is that? A year ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it's about a year.
Okay. So I don't even know what happened with that. Like, was it good or?
I would recommend.
It was okay. How's this Power of X? I'll put that in the lines. But like, I mean, like, X-Men is about like, I mean, it's a school. Well, theoretically, it's about a school of training other mutants to and then also training them to learn how to coexist with humans. Like, you're telling me throughout this whole time period, because I remember they tried with when they tried to split with all new X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, they had 2 different schools, 2 different groups of people of new mutants and stuff that they were adding into it, and then they never really used them at the end. Like Ava, who was who basically uses time bubbles and gold balls and stuff like that. Like, it was they were amping them up, but like you're telling me that like throughout this whole time they still haven't found like new characters or someone that would be like that could be like in the mantles of like the possibility of its own separate team or strengths of the own different set of teams and stuff. Because like when All New X-Men was going in the direction that they were making Laura Kinney and Angel were together, as an item and stuff, and like I was thinking like, okay, cool, it's gonna be a brand new different kind of aspect of a team that we haven't seen, like that kind of weird pairing. But then that just got shut down, and I'm just like, what is going, like, why? What's going on, man? It's like but yeah, so I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying that they need to, like, I feel like they need to they just need to kind of see where they go. I'm open for change. I'll definitely check that story out that you just said and see what I think about it. But but other than that, I guess rant over a Marvel specifically. But like, are there any good indies that you would also recommend? or the to read, like from Image?
Yeah. I would say probably my hero, other than Saga, because I think we talked about Saga once upon a time. I'm always singing its praises. But Snot Girl.
Oh, Snot
Love
Girl.
it.
Yeah,
Love it.
that's Brian Lee O'Malley, isn't it? Like dude from Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Is that still going? I didn't even know it was still going. That's cool.
It's on a weird hiatus, kind of. It's like I think the last issue came out like with a 4-month gap from the previous one, so it's just on a weird schedule, but it's not. Saga's been going on. It's been over a year.
Yeah, Saga's been going on since like 2014 or so.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I need it to come back like right away.
I don't know what they're waiting on. Oh, I guess I can.
It's crazy because you forget about the outside world when you're inside. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why we can't go outside. But yes, Snot Girl is a beautiful symphony of vapid things that I love to laugh at and notice, done in such a cutting and biting way that is just an absolute enjoyment every time I read an issue. You know, the art's beautiful. The story is ever evolving, so I don't really know what's going to happen, and that doesn't happen often in comics. Usually it's either a pretty linear, good point A to point B, or it's crossover and it's this, and then it's so convoluted you can't keep track of what's happening. So that would be like the bad. I don't know what's going to happen next, but it's like, can we find out a little bit more within the storyline, and then a little bit more. So I'm invested as a reader, and I would definitely suggest it. And it's not a huge one to tackle. A lot of people are intimidated about something even as just standards like, Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. It's like, well, you've got decades of stuff if you want to get like that full scope of all the things that he's been through. So that can be a little intense, but with a run
20 something
12 issues right now, 12 or 13 in total.
I was assuming because like Snot Girl was came out 2 years ago, I believe. Yeah,
I think it's been 2 years, so like not crazy. Like you could get a collection. I don't know if she has released
there's three. There should be about 3 trade paperbacks by now, I believe. No, but you're right. It's they said the most recent one was March of 2020, so that was number 15. Wow.
Okay, yeah, so 15.
Okay.
That's not a huge investment at all. Like you could take a day when there's nothing going on and you could pour through, that whole storyline.
I love Image Comics though. Image Comics trades are like the best idea. It's like $10 for the first trade, and it's like 15 or something for the next one. So yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, man, I need to get back. I really want to get back into comic book reading, but it's like I just don't even know what my series to start with anymore, or anything that came out. Although after I watched The Old Guard on Netflix, I was like, oh man, I need to start seeing some of these really cool stuff from Greg Rucka again. So, but that's cool.
Nice.
That's definitely.
I watch if I'm feeling bored with what my current reading list is, and if I'm not rereading, some of those OG storylines, I watch Comic Tropes a lot. He's a YouTuber. He does some really cool deep dives that I can just watch over and over again. With his commentary and his research is just enough, and I feel like he gives a really warm, I guess, vibe to everything, because there's that stereotype of the standoffish know-it-all comic book person,
right?
And he does a really great job of especially long-running things that are digestible, and it's a way for people to kind of get a full scope of a more long-standing either writer, artist, colorist, inker. He breaks down all parts of the industry, so it's not just like a character.
Right.
So.
No, I mean, you got to commend people like that, because like to be able to be doing things like that and just to be up to date. Oh my god! Because like the one I've heard of Comic Trip, never watched them, but I did. But I did use Comic Books Explained. That guy he has now a crew. He used to be doing this stuff himself, but then just doing these crazy in dive depths of these stories. It's just it's amazing. So no, I'll definitely give him credit where the credit's due on that. So yeah. You know, the one thing I wanted to bring this up though too, because it's funny. The one thing I was like, I've been missing recently is your reactions, or when you're playing Mortal Kombat. like it is so funny. I was like how totally involved that you get inside that game. It's so scary sometimes. I'm like, Jesus, she is really diving in.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've been meaning to do more. I kind of fell off the wagon when I went completely opposite from the most like intensely violent to the most passive of playing The Sims. So I rediscovered The Sims.
Wow, you went to a full like 180 spectrum.
And I'm like, oh, you know what? I might rip a spine today, and then tomorrow I'll be like, oh, can I level up my career aspirations?
You might as well treat like Mortal Kombat like the Fight Club of The Sims. It's like you just go down. So basically, wow.
Listen, that has merit.
That really does.
Yeah, I should jump back in because it is fun. And people are like, oh, you should do like Twitch. I'm like, that's literally all I've got. Like, I would be the magician that like just pulls the rabbit out of the hat, and they're like, oh, great, next trick. And I'm like, rabbit again.
It's like, you never seen this before.
Yeah.
Hey, you could be a Sim / Mortal Kombat streamer. That's what you could be classified as. Sim / Mortal Kombat streamer and occasional cosplay making. I don't know. It's possible. You don't necessarily need to be playing everything. You just need to play what you like to play, and then just stream it. Because like, I always wonder that too. Because the way you stream, like the way you record your Mortal Kombat, I'm like wondering like, why isn't she streaming this? It's like, it would be nice.
This setup too, because I'm like, oh, I don't feel like getting an account. Oh, no, I've got to set up my thing. This is too. I'm Instagram Live. Drinks, you ready to go? Let's go.
Just simple and fast and easy. Fair enough. Well, see. Yeah, perfect. Well, Sara, Moni Cosplay, thank you so much for stopping by with us. I really appreciate it. Would you like to plug in anything? Plug in while I have you.
No, my Instagram is my main source to post all my hijinks, including Mortal Kombat Live, all my costumes and things like that. I'll post progress pictures when I am working in my stories, so I'm pretty active. Drop me a line. My message box is always open. And yeah, stay safe, stay socially active, fight the good fight.
Awesome. Good deal. Guys, thank you so much. And thank you to real special thanks to us, our guest, Sara Moni Cosplay. I really appreciate her to spend some time with us. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by, listening to Pop Culture Gems. We will be back again at another time. You can definitely check us out either on YouTube or on any podcast services, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Stitcher Radio, what have you. Or if you want to just check the main source of everything that we do, just go to our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com, to check out everything in one awesome spot. So this is Davis signing off, and y'all take it easy.